Just 9 weeks left until Election Day, and the race for the White House looks to be tightening up. A CNN ORC poll out this morning has Donald Trump ahead of Hillary Clinton, 45% to 43%, a virtual dead heat as they enter the final stretch. Trump senior advisor AJ Delgado is here to join us. AJ, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I want to ask you first, you are very big when it comes to the Hispanic vote, getting out the vote. You've written about it. Do you believe that building a wall is something that needs to be done to deal with immigration?
Absolutely, and it's not just about immigration, it's about safety and also about jobs. For instance, you had Esquire magazine recently go down to the border, and they interviewed both Anglo and Latinos who live on the border. And guess who was even more in favor of the border than the Anglo residents? It was the Latinos that live on the border. Because A, they want safety for their families, B, they want the drugs out, and they don't want any added competition for jobs.
But Donald Trump has said that he wants to deport those undocumented immigrants. And recently he softened up on that stance. Why is he backpedaling now?
Well, no, he's not backpedaling. His position has always been...
So you don't think this is a shift? You don't
not at all. His position has always been consistent with a focus on priorities, building the wall, border security, deporting the criminal illegal aliens first, making sure that people leave and come back the legal way, e-verify, visa tracking, ending sanctuary city funding. So this isn't a shift at all, really, and I'm not sure. I think we're seeing the media kind of come at this from like Donald Trump keeps shifting, but the more you look at it, he hasn't at all. He's been consistent since day one. I know immigration's a complex issue, so sometimes something might seem like a shift, but he's really been consistent since the proposal he put out in August up through the Phoenix speech and the remarks he gave yesterday.
Well, then why are members of his own Hispanic Advisory Council, who he met with and allowed the media to see them, why are they defecting? Why are they leaving Donald Trump's campaign after standing by him and saying the things that you've said? They support security, they support following the law, but after his speech in Arizona, the tone he took after meeting with the Mexican president, they said they don't believe him.
Well, let's be sure, that was only 2 out of nearly 30 members on the council.
But what does that say?
And those 2, well, the one member who has been speaking out the most is an immigration attorney who is in favor of immigration reform, more along what we saw in the Gang of 8. So this was somebody that had only recently come aboard the Trump train. So his defection, I would think, is not as significant as someone who, for instance, has been supporting Trump and then were to say, oh, well, okay, this does it for me. The 2 that resigned were really only recent add-ons and a bit trepidatious about coming on board of the train, as it were.
But doesn't that speak to how fragile his support is, even among those who are willing to stand up like yourself and come out and say, I'm Hispanic, I support Donald Trump? I mean, the fact that he's trying to walk this very fine line between keeping his base, which is motivated and wants a wall, and supports a deportation force, and attracting minority voters in key swing states where he is behind right now. I mean, that would seem to suggests he's not doing well to hang on to that support.
I wouldn't call it fragile at all, especially among Hispanics. We're seeing great numbers for Mr. Trump. For instance, the most recent statistic I saw was Gallup has him at 29% favorability among U.S.-born Hispanics. Most Hispanic voters in the U.S. are the U.S.-born Hispanics. That's already higher than Mitt Romney received at 27% share of the Latino vote, and very close to John McCain, who received 31%. So I wouldn't call his support fragile. We're actually seeing uptick. The more he talks about jobs and safety on the border, the more Latinos gravitate to his message. Speaking
to Errol's point about how people are just not supporting him that you think traditionally would, the Dallas Morning News not endorsing Trump, announcing today, big headline, since 1952 they pretty much supported every Republican candidate except for one. How do you deal with a blow like that?
That's okay. And, you know, there has been this rift somewhat, we saw it in the primaries, between the GOP establishment and Donald Trump. And I think when you have newspapers that perhaps have favored the establishment candidates, perhaps people like Paul Ryan, Rubio, if that is more of the Republican candidate you wish or have traditionally favored.
It's become a big issue for him, AJ. Particularly, I want to look at Florida. You mentioned Marco Rubio. People thought he was going to tank in the primaries. Close to 75% he ended up nailing in the primary vote recently. He's called him Little Rubio, right? Marco Rubio has said he's a man with little hands. Do you think they need to patch it up, especially in a state like Florida, where he's got to win this to be able to get to the White House?
Well, Trump is doing well in Florida. I know some polls show Hillary up, some show Trump up.
But it's very close,
for instance,
within the margin of error.
It is. And I think you have to be careful, though, with mentioning how well Rubio's doing, because that's in a Senate race. The Floridian public did not...
It shows that he's got support in Florida. Why doesn't Donald Trump patch it up with him and try and bring in those voters?
Well, he could, but he doesn't need to necessarily. Let's not forget the GOP primary vote went to Donald Trump. That's what caused Rubio Rubio to throw in the towel. So if anything, I would think Rubio should seek Donald Trump's support in his Senate race, which is almost as close as Donald Trump's race with Hillary Clinton. It's the establishment vote at the end of the day versus an outsider and a candidate that's really for the people like Donald Trump. I think it's the former that needs the support of the latter in this election and in this populace.
Now, Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence is saying he will release his tax returns. Donald Trump says he doesn't want to release his tax returns because many of the years that he has them for are under audit. The IRS has said publicly that being under audit does not prohibit you from releasing your tax returns. Hillary Clinton hit that issue hard today and will likely continue to do so. Should he release his tax returns? If not, why not?
You're technically not forbidden from it, but it would be, as many attorneys have said, and I say myself, malpractice as an attorney to tell Donald Trump to release while you're under audit. It's not Donald Trump's fault he's under audit. He has no obligation to release them, nor should he. And as far as Hillary calling on him to do so,
to the American people, though, who want to know what type of businessman
under
he's
audit.
been, can they confirm he's been successful? Can they confirm his value? I mean, this is the type of thing that every other presidential nominee for both parties has done in the modern era. Why should Donald Trump follow a different standard?
Hillary Clinton, I would also call on her. We're going to call on candidates to do things. I would also call on her to host a press conference sometime within 300 days or to release her medical records, which is also a huge concern. Donald Trump has said if she releases hers, I'll release mine.
Hillary Clinton did speak to press moments ago. We showed
in a press gaggle. I wouldn't call it a press conference.
But Donald Trump isn't being transparent with his tax returns. Why not?
He can't be. He can't be. Effectively under audit, I would say as an attorney, even as a business advisor, I'm sure a business advisor would tell him the same thing, do not release under audit. It's just the circumstances he's under. I'm sure he would be happy to otherwise.
You're a senior advisor for the Trump campaign. I assume you've met with Trump, you've spoken with him.
I have met him, yes.
You know him?
Yes, wonderful man.
Do you think he would have the courage to say to the IRS, go ahead, release my tax returns, I give you the authority to do that?
Why would he? Why should he do that? Though that's putting himself in a terrible.
Because 74% of the American public say we want to know. We want to know who are you donating to charity? Are you connected to a foreign government? What is your tax bracket?
He effectively cannot do that. I would not advise him to do that. Again, as an attorney, under audit, your hands are tied.
But the IRS has said it's okay. He can go ahead and release it.
Technically, you can do it. You can do anything you want. You can go cross that street on a red light now. It doesn't mean it's a good idea.
His unfavorability is so high. Why not be transparent and tell the American people, look, I know this is important to you. It's not a Washington media thing.
Sure.
More than 74% of the American public is saying, we want to know what's in there.
He could gain more support just by doing it.
I agree. And then maybe Hillary Clinton should release the transcripts of her speeches to Wall Street. There have been calls from Bernie Sanders supporters for her to do that for months. There is literally a website with a countdown clock waiting for her to release those. The American public deserve those. Where are those transcripts?
So at the very least, you do agree it would be a good thing for Donald Trump to release his tax returns?
No, I do not. I do not. Not under audit. Maybe another year, different circumstances, yes. But I do want to see those transcripts and those medical records and those Clinton Foundation donor lists from Hillary Clinton.
Before we let you go, how is he preparing for the debate?
Just keeping his message honest and direct with the American people, as he has been. That's what's gotten him this far.
So no formal training, nothing that he's doing?
Well, there is prep training, of course. Hillary Clinton is a wonderful debater, and she's preparing just as Mr. Trump is
Who's playing Hillary Clinton? Do we know?
That I don't know. I hope I don't have to.
AJ Delgado, thank you.
Thank you.